welcome back to Spinning Iris. Today is day 11 of Banned Book Month, which means it is time for chapter 11 of Candide by Voltaire. Now, in the last chapter, we left Candide and his friends on a ship, and the old woman was about to tell her story. Now, I'm going to warn you, she holds nothing back, and it's going to be quite a ride. Are you ready? Let's go. Chapter 11. The Old Woman's Story. My eyes haven't always been bloodshot and red-rimmed, my nose hasn't always touched my chin, and I haven't always been a servant. I am the daughter of Pope Urban X and the Princess of Palestrina. Until the age of 14 I was brought up in a palace so magnificent that all the castles of your German barons couldn't have served as its stable, and one of my dresses was worth more than all the splendor in Westphalia. I grew in beauty, grace, and talent amid pleasures, respect, and hopes. I had already begun to inspire love. My breasts were forming, and what breasts! They were white and firm, as shapely as those of the Venus de Medici. And what eyes I had! What eyelids! What black eyebrows! What fire shone from my 2 pupils, dimming the glitter of the stars, as the local poets used to tell me. The women who dressed and undressed me were ecstatic each time they saw me in front and behind, and all men would have loved to be in their place. I was betrothed to a sovereign prince of Massa Carrara. What a prince! He was as handsome as I was beautiful, filled with sweetness and charm, sparkling with wit and burning with love. I loved him as we always loved the first time, with idolatry and wild passion. Preparations for the wedding were made with unprecedented pomp and splendor. There were constant feasts, tournaments, and comic operas, and all Italy wrote sonnets for me, not one of which was even passable. I was about to reach the peak of my happiness when an old marchesa, who'd once been my prince's mistress, invited him to her house for chocolate. He died in less than 2 hours with horrible convulsions. But that's only a trifle. My mother, in despair, though less deeply afflicted than I, decided to leave the tragic scene for a while. She had a beautiful estate near Gaeta. We set out in a galley that was gilded like the altar of St. Peter's in Rome. Suddenly, a Barbary pirate ship bore down on us and boarded us. Our soldiers defended themselves like soldiers of the Pope. They all knelt, threw down their arms, and asked the pirates for absolution in articulo mortis. They were immediately stripped as naked as monkeys, and so were my mother, our ladies-in-waiting, and I. It's amazing how quickly those gentlemen can undress people. But what surprised me even more was that they put their fingers in a place where we women usually allow nothing but the nozzle of an enema. This ceremony seemed very strange to me. That's how we judge everything when we've never been outside our own country before. I soon learned that it was to find out whether we'd hidden any diamonds there. It's a custom that's been observed since time immemorial by all civilized seafaring nations. I later learned that the Knights of Malta never fail to practice it when they capture Turkish men and women. It's a point of international law which has always been complied with. I won't tell you how painful it is for a young princess to be taken off to Morocco as a slave with her mother. You can easily imagine everything we had to suffer on board the pirate ship. My mother was still quite beautiful. Our ladies-in-waiting and even our ordinary maids had more charms than can be found in all of Africa. As for me, I was exquisitely lovely. I was beauty and grace personified, and I was a virgin. Not for long, though. The flower that had been reserved for the handsome Prince of Massa Carrara was ravished from me by the pirate captain, a horrible black who thought he was doing me a great honor. The Princess of Palestrina and I certainly needed all our strength to withstand everything we underwent before we reached Morocco. But I won't dwell on that. Such things are so common that they're not worth talking about. Morocco was swimming in blood when we arrived. There were 50 sons of the Emperor Moulay Ismail, each with his own faction. This produced 50 civil wars of blacks against blacks, blacks against browns, browns against browns, and half-breeds against half-breeds. There was constant slaughter from one end of the empire to the other. We had scarcely landed when some blacks belonging to an enemy faction attacked my pirate captain to take his booty away from him. After the diamonds and gold, we were his most valuable prizes. I witnessed a fight such as you never see in our European climates. Northern peoples aren't hot-blooded enough. Their lust for women isn't as strong as it usually is in Africa. Europeans seem to have milk in their veins, but it's fire and vitriol that flows in the veins of those who live in the Atlas Mountains and the surrounding regions. They fought with the fury of the lions and tigers and snakes of their country to decide who would have us. A Moor seized my mother by the right arm, my captain's lieutenant held her by the left, a Moorish soldier took her by one leg, and one of our pirates gripped the other. Nearly all our women were instantly seized and drawn this way by 4 soldiers. My captain kept me hidden behind him. He had his scimitar in his hand, and was killing everyone who faced his rage. Finally I saw my mother and all our Italian women torn and cut to pieces, slaughtered by the monsters who were fighting over them. My fellow captives and those who had captured them, soldiers, sailors, blacks, whites, half-breeds, and finally my captain, were all killed, and I lay dying on a heap of corpses. As you know, such scenes took place all over an area 750 miles across, yet no one ever missed the 5 daily prayers prescribed by Mohammed. I freed myself with great difficulty from that tangled mass of bleeding corpses and dragged myself to the shade of a big orange tree on the bank of a nearby stream. I collapsed there, overcome with fear, fatigue, horror, despair, and hunger. My exhausted senses soon sank into an oblivion and was more like fainting than sleeping. I was in that state of weakness and insensibility between life and death when I felt something moving and pressing against my body. I opened my eyes and saw a white man of great appearance, who was sighing and muttering between his teeth, "Oce sciagura de essere senza coglioni." And that is the end of chapter 11. Well, so far it's a lot worse than what happened to Cunegonde. Now there are a couple notes in the back here for this chapter. Let's see. First is supposedly a note from the author. It says it's allegedly by Voltaire himself, although it appeared in no edition of Candide prior to 1829. Quote, "Note the author's extreme discretion. So far there has been no pope named Urban X. He is afraid to ascribe a bastard daughter to a known pope. What circumspection! What delicacy of conscience!" Quite charming. Nice little dig at the Catholic Church again. And the fourth one is a translation of the last line of the chapter, which translates to, "Oh, what a misfortune to be without testicles." So yeah, the old woman was being awoken to a... So yeah, the old woman was getting a rude awakening. And if you think that's the end of her story, well, you're wrong. But we'll find out what happens next in her story tomorrow. I hope you'll come back and join me. Thanks for watching. Take care. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.